So opening statement is, what am I supposed to eat? And this is the most confusing thing when it comes to nutrition, because you have like Men's Health magazine telling you one thing, you have like Dr. Oz TV show telling you another thing, you have the government telling you another thing, what you learn in school is another thing, maybe your doctor, your physician's telling you another thing. This is the issue. It's a very confusing landscape, and here's what your operating principles have to be. It's to make sure that you understand what your number one goal is. Just like why we created the workout tracks, nutrition works the same. I need to know what your goals are, and then we can operate from there. That might already make a little bit of sense, but it's our belief that everyone's gonna fall into one of these four, call them cubes. Everyone's gonna fall into one of these four. Either your objective is to lose weight, to build muscle, to increase your athletic performance, or it's to, I wrote live longer. It's not necessarily a longevity play. It's not 85th birthday, 92nd birthday. It's like quality of life. I want to be older and still be kicking. I want to be awesome, not like decrepit. So it's our belief that you're going to fall into one of those four cubes. If there's an outlier, and I'm sure there are, like, yeah, but actually my goal is actually kind of this. Of course, there are some outliers, but largely I believe everyone's going to fall into one of these four. So what I want to do with you guys is create some principles and have an operating system where you can put first things first. This is the principle and operating system you should always be operating by. Think about in class. If you're like, hey, how should I scale how should I scale the muscle up? Depends. What are your goals? You tell me your goals are, and I tell you what you need to do. But I need to know what your goals are. There's an operating principle behind how you work out, behind how we scale and how we modify things for you. Same with nutrition. Let's talk losing weight. Actually, I say losing weight, we're gonna talk the operating principle. If you need to lose weight, what's the number one thing you have to do?
Stop eating altogether.
Okay, so I've heard stop and I've heard reduce, so we're in a ballpark. What's the number one thing you have to do? If you wanna lose weight, still eat, or exercising. Let's talk food only. Number one principle, you wanna lose weight.
Cut out bread.
What's that word? Yeah, so Ethan said, all of you guys are right. Your number one principle is to lower calories. We'll come back to this. Gain muscle. You want to gain muscle. What is your number one? So you want to lose weight, you need to decrease calories. You want to gain muscle, you need to. Okay, so we said increase calories. Yeah, something more specific. Increase protein. And if you're not super familiar with macronutrients, we'll come back to them and hit them slightly. I'm pretty sure most of you guys have an idea, but athletic performance. What direction? Up.
To be able to maintain the energy you're using.
Okay. Live longer. Just want a healthier life.
Quality.
Her balance, her quality. So you could call this so many things. You could say it's the whole foods approach, and that's not the grocery store. It's like eating whole foods. It's keto. It's the whole 30. I'm gonna call this lower, because I love the arrows. I'm gonna call this lower processed foods. You can tell who lives with me. Let's call this one.
We do drills every night.
Lower. Oh goodness. Lower processed foods. Okay, from here, if I know nothing else about you, I know that we at least have an operating principle now. Here's the confusing landscape. When Plight of the Patriot was over, we'd let the entire parking lot get taken over as an athlete area. So when the Plight of the Patriot was over and the team was cleaning up, do you know the number one thing that I cleaned up is like putting in a trash bag and cleaning the trash bags out in the gym? You know the number one thing? So he's not too far off. The number one thing I cleaned up. Any guesses? Some of you guys competed.
Sugar.
Orange pills. Noelle's the closest.
Sour Patch Kids.
I cleaned up the most Sour Patch Kids wrappers and Haribo Gummy Bear wrappers. Those are two most, what about the worms? I like the sour worms. Those are the two most things that I cleaned up. Here's the issue. You see someone that's the pinnacle of fitness. They podiumed, apply to the patron. Like, hey, what are you guys doing? Because I need to be doing that. You see what they're doing. You say to yourself, I need to be doing that. And I don't really get the result I'm after. And it's because you're in the wrong cube. So to break this down one by one, let's start with losing weight, decreasing calories. If decreasing calories is the goal, it is the objective, you have to understand that there is a law here. It's the law of conservation of energy. It's also known as the law of thermodynamics. You can say, but my metabolism is, and it is what it is. It's calories in versus calories out. If you guys have ever been to NutriShop or if you've ever been to Gold Star and they've done a scan for you, you're probably familiar with the term caloric deficit. Anybody say what that means? Anybody know what a caloric deficit is?
What you spend out without spending energy. You're putting out more than you're putting in.
Yeah, so it's a math problem. It's calories out, and you guys just did a hardcore workout of like zoom, 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 zoom. It's calories out versus putting calories back in. So it's a math problem. How many points are going into the body and how many points are being expelled through exercise? If you are expending more than you are consuming, you are at what's called a deficit. A caloric deficit is the way to lose weight. Period. And there's no emotion there. It's like, well, yeah, but my doctor actually told me that unless you are a total outlier, this is science. So if you are consuming more than you are burning, you're not at a deficit. In fact, you are starting to put on body fat. And we'll come back to that here in a moment. So the law of thermodynamics is where we start with if your goal is to lose weight. There's tons of strategies under this. Remember, right now we're going over principles. You want to lose weight? Decrease your calories. To what number? I don't know. That's relative to you. But you need to decrease it to a point where it's either level with or less than what you're burning. Let's talk about gaining muscle. And by the way, as we're going from like cube to cube, you have to understand, like people ask me, all the coaches, so we get asked all the time, hey, like are raisins good for me? What about beef jerky? Am I allowed to have gluten? I don't know. Depends. Maybe you can do all those things, maybe you can do none of those things. It totally depends. But first things first is what you have to consider. So it's what's your goal and what's the first operating principle in that goal. Already this should start to clear up some fog in your brain, but you gotta understand what is your main goal, what's the first principle inside of that goal. If you move on to gaining muscle, how much protein should you be consuming? So we're getting some number. Danielle, will you say yours again?
1 gram per pound of body weight.
1 gram per pound of body weight. Anybody else have an idea? Sometimes usually. Huh?
I've heard your body only can digest 40 grams at a time, something like that.
Yeah, so 40 grams per, I'm gonna call that meal, whether it's a shake or whatever. Any other ideas? How much protein you get in a day, in a meal? I mean, Mike threw out a meal. It's like, I've heard this one before.
The good answer is, it depends.
So Harvard Medical School did a study and said the minimum, like you cannot go lower, you will have negative health effects. The minimum is 0.7 grams per pound of lean muscle mass. So let's say that a guy, I hope I don't butcher this math. Let's say a guy is 210 pounds. Let's say he's 210 pounds.
Can I get my calculator ready?
Let's say he's 210 pounds and he is super lean. Put him at 5% body fat. Is that 200 pounds of lean muscle mass?
What, dude?
You got 1.05.
205 pounds.
199.5.
Say it again. 199.5. So let's say he's 200 pounds, but his lean muscle mass, everybody know lean muscle mass. Do you know that term? So it's like, how much do you weigh without the fat? It's a number that means way more to me as your coach than it does like how much you currently weigh. Because if you come up to me and you're like, hey, I'm currently 210 pounds, my goal is to get down to 150. And so like I don't consider your goals, I don't consider your activity, male or female, or height. And I'm like, okay, 210 pounds, if I multiply 210 by, holy crap, I could screw you over real quick. So it's your lean muscle mass. It's how much are you currently weighing with no body fat. Like I just stood upright to get rid of body fat. Stand up really fast, you lose weight. How much do I weigh with no body fat? That's your lean muscle mass. So Harvard Medical School says it's 0.7 grams per pound of lean muscle mass. So let's say a guy, his lean muscle mass is 200. Be a pretty thick dude. 200 pounds of lean muscle mass. 0.7, that means for this guy I'm talking about, is 140 grams per day at minimum. He's looking to maintain at minimum. If you're looking to gain muscle, it's a little bit closer to 1.0, upwards of 1.5. If you're a 200-pound dude times 1.5, that's 300 grams of protein per day. A large chicken breast, like palm and some fingers, large-sized chicken breast is about 30 grams. That's 10 chicken breasts a day. So you look at someone who's doing that, this is why you get on The Rock's Instagram, you see his pictures like, oh, that's what I'd be doing, and you're screwing yourself. You're like, because all you want to do is lose weight, live longer, feel better, and you're like, I can't do this, my numbers are always off, and you're screwing yourself. You have to know what your goals are. We can talk keto, Whole30, dude, we can talk all this stuff, but you need to know your first principle. You need to know how much protein you need to get in, even if your goals are not to get jacked, even if your goals are not to be The Rock. We still have to know how much protein you should be getting in. We're talking 0.7 grams per lean muscle mass at minimum. Harvard Medical says if you're doing anything less than that, there's a great chance most of us are. If you're doing anything less than that, not only is it not as good, you could have negative health effects with bone density, with blood pressure, of course muscle mass. Body composition won't be where you want it to be, not near as favorable if you can't hit 0.7 per day. So yes, we can talk about protein supplements, we can talk about what The Rock does, we can talk about getting a George Foreman grill, you need an air fryer, talk all those things, all these strategies. But we first gotta know what the operating principle is. Fit Aid makes you burp. All right, athletic performance. Now, a lot of you guys, almost all of you, not all of you, but most of you guys are following the compete track. So this is very important to many of you guys. Compete track, athletic performance. And it doesn't have to be the sport of CrossFit. You know, like this would also be like Mike Bowling. He does the train track here. He's a train athlete, but that's because he is a baller on a mountain bike, and like that's his thing. So if athletic performance is your goal, increasing your carbohydrates is your thing. Like I said earlier, gummy bears, Sour Patch Kids, those are the two pieces of trash I was picking up most often when the competition was over. The deal with carbohydrates is it's sugar. Like candy is sugar. Whether it's polysaccharide, disaccharide, monosaccharide, complex or simple, all of that is sugar. The number one goal is to get that glucose into your body, let it be fuel, let it be sugar, and then you use it. If you're trying to live longer and be healthier, what's the number one thing you need to avoid?
Processed sugar.
Yeah, sugar. So the deal is you go to the CrossFit gym, you see I'm gonna call them the podium athletes, the ones that are looking fit, the ones that are killing it, they're winning it, and they're like, hey, you did, I saw you doing gummy worms, so maybe I should be doing the same thing. And then all of a sudden you're putting on extra body fat, you're feeling sluggish, and it's because you're outside of your zone. Also, let's make sure that we're on the same page with what athletic performance is like defined with. It's not just what was your score on Wodify. It's how hard are you training? It's activity levels. You know, I could definitely use someone like, actually, a lot of the guys in here that have like manual labor jobs. Well, actually, every guy in here is doing some type of moving around, picking something up. Not me. I coach throughout the entire day, but I'm just talking loud. I'm just saying, hey, pick it back up. What I'm not doing is like breathing heavy. I'm not a landscaper. We had a coaches meeting a couple weeks ago. I said, I'm not a lumberjack. Like I don't do those things. So for me to try to like top off the system would do myself a major disservice. I take class every day. I don't do anything extra before or after. So I don't need to make sure like I'm topped off. I've given a lot of you guys the gas station, the get and go reference before. Well, if you pulled up to the gas station, you went inside, said, hey, 10 cents on pump 2. The guy's like, okay. And you did 10 cents on pump 2 and then you drove away. You're not going very far. Depends on your goals. If you're just doing one class a day, you're gonna be fine on a low carbohydrate diet. If you train like I do, you're gonna be fine on a lower carb diet. If you don't train like I do, if you get out of bed at 4:45, 5 a.m., come train in the morning, you leave, you come back later in the day, you train, you might stay after and do some snatch balance. So fun. You have to do what's called some intra-workout snacks. So intra, I-N-T-R-A, intra-workout is in between. When you're competing, it's events. When you're training, it's in between sessions. And like, you guys did 5x5 back squat. You guys got done doing back squats. You moved on to part 2, which was a conditioning piece. That was all one session. What if you finished the session, you hung out here with me for another like 30 minutes while your body cools down, get back to homeostasis, and we ran it back. This time we did overhead squats, and this time we changed the workout. If you have no fuel, your car's not driving. But if your objective is not to get your car to drive super fast, like you're not a compete athlete. You're not in here training so much. Your job doesn't have you doing so much extra physical activity. You're doing yourself a disservice by putting fuel in the tank that you don't need. Which kind of leads me into, if you're putting fuel in the tank that you don't need, understand that this is why and how we get fat. You call it sugar, you put glucose into your body. Your body says, okay, I'm ready to use this. Fuel is in, I'm ready to drive the car, and you never drive the car. You sit at your desk, you type, you're on your phone, all of a sudden I'm hungry again, and your body turns that into fat as a fuel source for later. It's an evolutionary biological system that our bodies have done for us. It's really cool. In the caveman days, you don't need that anymore. It's not like, I don't know what my next meal is gonna be, so I really need to that's not a thing anymore. Your next meal is around the corner. But in regards to athletic performance, you have to have carbohydrates in the system. But what I don't want to happen to you is think like, okay, well, I saw him and her doing this, so I need to be doing the same thing. Brooklyn, between events at top of the box, what did you eat at least 2 of between every event? Peanut butter sandwiches. So Brooke's lean, sub 15% body fat, kills her workouts all the time. She does peanut butter sandwiches, plural, between workouts. I'm gonna do the same. But I'm giving you nothing but glucose from bread. We can talk bread quality as well. Remember, those are strategies underneath. But give you some Dave's Killer bread, big old, if you ever seen a serving size if you ever seen what a tablespoon of peanut butter actually is? Yeah, you will cry. A serving size of peanut butter is not what you think it is. But what most people do for a sandwich, and she's having multiples of those between events all in one day and gonna do it again on day 2 of the competition. You're like, well, if she does it, I'm gonna do it too. This is the issue. You see what other people are doing based on their cube, even if they have a genuine heart and they really wanna help you. And this is, I was naming people earlier. I was like magazines, Dr. Oz, the government, school. Even if people really wanna help you, a lot of people have that fitness buff friend, like, hey, no, I train all the time. You can do Waffle House if it fits your macros, you can. And you're like, okay. And it gets so scary and it's so nerve-wracking, and it shouldn't be. But you have to know what your goals are. Lastly, with live longer, with processed foods, your number 1 goal is to eliminate them. Not only because they are often very, very low in carbohydrates, which is what you would want to avoid. Also, it's going to give you what we call micronutrients. These are vitamins, these are minerals, things that your body already makes, and you are supplementing them with food. Also, if you are like, hey, should I be doing supplements? And I'm not talking sports. I'm not talking carb supplements. I'm not talking creatine. I'm not talking protein. Like, my grandma does magnesium. Like, my dad does vitamin C. Should I be doing? It depends. It really does matter with the conversation between you and your physician. But I would not say go to Food City right now and go buy your supplement. I would say do this first. If you're eating real foods, whole foods, you start there. So now that we've laid out the cubes, now let's bring you guys into the picture. Let's talk individualized approaches. You have the cubes, you have the number one operating principle. You put first things first. Hey Clay, I want to lose weight. Clay, I'm gonna give you a bunch of stuff, but your calories have to go down. No questions asked. Hey Clay, I'm trying to get those DJ triceps. Cool, I'm gonna get you there, but we gotta talk about gaining muscle. We gotta talk about upping your protein. Where do we want to start? Yeah, where do we want to start? Huh?
Gain muscle.
So if Joe's looking to gain muscle, his number one operating principle is to increase his protein. Yeah, Ben and Dean are both right. It's to increase his protein. Now, what we're not saying anything about is, okay, well, how often are you doing carbs? What do you think about, if that's his number one goal, then this must be his number one goal. We now need to know what a number is that's appropriate for you. So it'd be your lean muscle mass times 1.0 minimum. 0.7 minimum for positive health effects. 1.0 minimum if you're looking to gain. 1.5 kind of like on the max. If you go 1.6 and higher, there are guys out there, but it's often guys on anabolics as well. So don't do that. So between 1.0 and 1.5, kind of the sweet spot to be in. But if you guys are running the math, remember I gave you that 200-pound guy earlier, times 1.5, was 300 grams of protein per day. You can do that on 10 chicken breasts. Like it's possible. Oh, but holy crap though, right? It would be so hard. And this is where supplementation comes into play. This is also why we've been selling Ascent at the gym for a while and have pushed it on none of you. We've not done a single Instagram post with it. I've not talked to you guys like when class is over, kind of like this. Hey guys, if you didn't know, we have, because it's not for all of you. In fact, it's for half or maybe less. But it's here for you if that is your objective, if that is your goal. So if we ran that math for you, Joe, we would have to know what your number is, 1.0 times your current LMM, not body weight. But they're gonna be pretty close because you've gotten pretty lean over the last year or so. So it's gonna be whatever that number is, we need to hit that number. And that's your number one goal. Yes, other things are important. I'll come back to like how you can mix the cubes here in a little bit. Other things are important. Your number one goal has to be to hit that number. So we need to find what that number is for you. I'm going to imagine it's about 160 on the low end. Let's say it's 160 to 190, probably that many grams of protein per day. And supplementation would be right for you in that regard. Another question, let's go somewhere else with it. Mike.
I struggle with eating the stuff that's going to give me energy coming up to a competition. It seems like when I do a competition, I'm good on the first run, and then as the day goes, I can't eat the right stuff to make me feel like I'm performing at 100%.
So do you up your carbs before, like for days before?
Awesome question, both of you guys. There are, once again, there's strategies there, tactics, but we know our number one operating principle is to increase our carbohydrate. So the example I gave you guys with Brooke of like how we can stay topped off between events, we're peanut butter sandwiches. That's not gummy worms, that's not like, that sounds not that bad. Like, I guess that's processed, but it's not like super bad, right? And depends. You need an operating principle first, which is to increase your carbs. Now that you have your operating principle, now it depends. All these different strategies. Some things are gonna sit with your belly really well, some things are gonna feel terrible. Leading up towards the last competition I coached Brooke in, we were dancing at about 320, 360 grams of carbs per day, which is not like the standard norm for like a guy, like just one workout a day. That would be a little high on that end. But the way that she gets those foods in is largely through, the most processed is bananas, oatmeal, rice. Well, you're doing okay if bananas is your processed side. Bananas are not processed, don't get that wrong, but I'm saying like that's as far as kind of she goes on that spectrum because she has belly issues. She puts down a bunch of gummy worms, she's holding her hair in the bathroom. Like, you have to know what you can tolerate, what you can't tolerate. She also has a vegan protein. She also has whey protein. Sometimes she can do a dairy byproduct, sometimes she can't. So you have to find what works best for you. But the one thing that kind of is true across the board is keeping the, you want to put your foot on the gas pedal of the Ferrari and drive 200 and keep it driving at 200. Quick, fast burning sugars, especially on competition day, are the simplest. If you can tolerate a lot of cornstarch, if you can tolerate a lot of fructose, if you can tolerate a lot of processed sugars, the stuff that kids love is the easiest stuff. What do you call the freaking pixie sticks? Pixie sticks. So like, you know, pixie sticks also come in like a tall, long tube. Like you can win those at arcades if you get like, yeah, those. That is just sugar. And a lot of people operate very well there. But like I said earlier with another athlete, it destroys her. So you gotta play. And what I would do is leading up to a competition, this week could be a really good week for you because 1 week from tomorrow you do compete. And you guys have what do we say yesterday? 3 events? 4 events. Oh, 4 score, but it's 3 events, right? You hit the floor 3 times. So what you can do is go into your first workout with, I'm gonna call it breakfast. We do not leave here today until we talk about breakfast because it's very important. But you hit your breakfast, you do that first workout, you win, and then you hit enough sugar in the system to be able to go again and enough to go again. What we can do this week throughout your training as you reverse taper, it's one of the questions Ben talked about, not reverse tapering. Ben was talking about like increasing a taper. Going into your competition, how can you be set up for success? You plug and play. You try something, you see if it works at the gym. If it works, it's just like training. Like, I know coach always tells us to go feet shoulder width, toes out to squat, but I've seen Matt Fraser squat. He goes underneath his hips and he points his toes forward. So I want to try that. Don't try it at your competition. Try it in the gym first. If it works in the gym, use it at your competition. You don't try anything at your competition for the first time. You train with it first. And food's the same. We'll play with it. There will be some things you're like, man, I feel freaking amazing.
Chocolate milk is one of those ones.
Chocolate milk is a good one. Chocolate milk is not a good one.
It's a good one.
It's good for you. So here's the deal with chocolate milk. Once again, we're right now, keep in mind, we're here. So we're all on the same page. We are not here. We're currently here. Clay said chocolate milk is good. Chocolate milk is great. Some people are intolerant to the sugar produced from dairy. Anybody know what that sugar is called from dairy? Lactose. They are intolerant to lactose. They are lactose intolerant. And Dustin learned today. So they are lactose intolerant. Hey, if you guys don't know that company Fairlife, learn about them real fast. Because Fairlife makes these single serve, you rip off the wrapper, and it's 26 grams of protein. They also make a Core Power. Anybody know the Core Power? How much of those are? Not 26.
42.
Woo!
The super.
Joe! You and Noel go to the grocery store, get some.
They're really good too.
They're amazing, very low in lactose, can sit on your belly if you have belly issues with lactose. If you don't, do whatever brand you like. But understand, you gotta find what works best for you, but this is your number one operating principle. I know no one raised their hand, but I know someone's like, hey, what if you kinda want all of them? What if like you want to like lose some stubborn belly fat, but also like I'm trying to lean out. I wanna have a good performance in the gym, but also like I wanna be around for my kids. Like I want all this stuff. Cool, me too. Here's what you do. And we put this on a sign back at the gym over a year ago. It's eat real food, not too much, mostly plants. It came from a book, In Defense of Food by Michael Pollan, and it's like for the masses. But if I know what your exact goals are, if I know what sits well with you, what doesn't, how much protein you can tolerate, how much protein, like, hey Clay, I can't eat this much chicken, I'm done. I need to know more about you, but what works really well for the masses is to eat food that's not processed, eat enough of it so that you can train, not too much so that you can stay in a deficit, so don't eat too much. And most of it should be plant-based because that's gonna give you the nutrients you need. However, you need a palm-sized serving of protein. I'm gonna open the floor back up for questions here in a moment, but what that would look like is every single meal is a plate, Dos Bros, Salsaritas, Chipotle, we fans? Okay, yeah, same. At one point, we were going like twice a week. We don't go as much anymore, but at one point, we were definitely going to Dos Bros and Oak Ridge like twice a week. If you go through the line, if you've never been, it works like Subway. I'm sure you guys have been to at least one of those places. But if you've never been, like you start and you tell them what you want. Here's what most bowls should look like for the masses. I'm not talking to this athlete right now. To the masses, it's you tell them you want a salad bowl. Not just like the regular bowl that starts with rice and beans. You tell them you want a salad bowl. And you get either, depending on which place you go to, either a little spinach bed or you get romaine lettuce. You get some, if you're one of these athletes, you're just kind of pissing yourself off because you're taking away room from rice and beans and meat. But here, or if you're trying to do all of them, so if this is at least part of it, you want to have a bed of spinach, a bed of lettuce. Then when it's time for rice and beans, depends, totally depends. I would keep it to about this, about your palm, or less, unless this is your goal. So maybe you skip the rice, maybe you have the rice. Maybe you get the beans, maybe you skip the beans. Once again, I can talk all this stuff, like can your belly do beans, can it not? Can you do white rice, does it have to be brown? Can you not do rice at all? But you go veggies at the bottom, you then get your protein. Depending on your goals, you might want them to say, hey, can I do a double-sized serving? Dude, there used to be the cutest little lady at the Japanese place at the mall, but I always asked for double meat. Cutest little lady. That was years ago, but Easttown Mall, Sarku. Yeah, R.I.P. Easttown Mall. Depressing now, very depressing now. As you keep making your way down the line, you get anything and everything, especially if it's not an upcharge. You get anything and everything you can extra onto your bowl. So when you get to the Fajita Veggies, yes, please. They don't charge you if you're like, hey, can I get another serving of that? It's peppers, it's onions, it's tons of nutrients. You get that stuff. You keep moving on. Corn salsa. I don't know. Can you do corn? Can you not? Some people can, some people can't. Oh, it's delicious. Pico, hot, mild, doesn't matter. You get what you want. When it comes down to guac, here's the deal with guacamole. Big fan. Healthy, fat, big fan. Here's the deal. When people hear the term fat, they get so scared because there was a study done from Ansel Keys back in the 50s, late 50s, early 60s, that made everyone terrified of fat. Fat got a bad rap for a long time. Fat is not bad for you. Poor quality fat is bad for you. Poor quality meat is bad for you. If you have a bad slaughterhouse, if you get bologna, if you do beanie weenies, not good for you. You need quality protein.
My papa would be so disappointed.
Everyone's papa just cried. I guess potted meat's over, I guess. So you have to know what a meal would look like. I said I want to come back to breakfast. Breakfast, made up of what two words? Break, fast. Your first meal of the day is to break the fast during your slumber. You slept overnight, you wake up in the morning, your job now is to break the fast and continue vitamins, minerals, nutrients in your body. What do most people, whether it's you or a friend or a family member, what do most people do for break fast? What do most people do? Cereal, eggs, coffee only. What else we got? Pancakes.
Sausage and bread.
Yeah, so we're getting there. Here's the deal. Here's what Totino's pizza rolls. I mean, I know someone. I wouldn't. Here's what most people do for breakfast. It's a bowl of cereal, some milk, and we talked about this in a coach's meeting. Sometimes it's like topped with fruit, but I think that's just for the commercials. I don't think many people slice strawberries on their Cheerios. Some people do, but I don't think.
Cornflakes with slices of banana.
Girl, I grew up with my grandma. Yes, I've had frosted flakes with bananas.
No, cornflakes. Not frosted flakes. Cornflakes.
Cornflakes are about the same.
Cornflakes are like frosted flakes with no sugar.
Exactly, so you put the fruit in it to get the sugar.
Yes, we're on to something. So most people are doing cereal. What is cereal? Yeah, it's a sugar, it's a carb. How do you make cereal? Anybody ever made their own Fruit Loops? How do you make cereal? It's like the box. Any ideas? Ever looked at the ingredients? What is cereal?
It's sugar.
Yeah, it's sugar. It's enriched wheat flour. It's a baked good. It's a muffin, just like overcooked and it's crispy. It's a bagel. It's a croissant. It's a pastry. What most people are doing are having breakfast.
Dessert.
Yeah. They're having breakfast. It's time to start my day. I don't know who does this in their kitchen. You never know if it's burpees are I'm gonna start my day with dessert. But their number one goal is to like, hey, summer's around the corner. I'm gonna turn some heads when I go to Norris Lake. That's their number one goal. But they're eating dessert for breakfast and they're having health issues, can't get the gains they want because apparently cereal, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, it slaps, but it's not getting me to my goals.
What about Raisin Bran?
Okay, Raisin Bran's fine, I think. That's how you know we are so old, because when we do have cereal, it's Raisin Bran, but it's Raisin Bran Crunch, and that makes us feel young again, okay? Yeah, DJ knows. So, is cereal, hey, am I allowed to have cereal? Depends. What are your goals? Are you gonna go train as soon as you leave the gym? I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but Rich Froning, I think most of you guys know who Rich Froning is, the athlete out in Cokeville, wins the CrossFit Games like every year. He's almost as fit as Zach Shrewsbury, not quite there. I got you. So Rich Froning does this thing called Train with Rich, where if you register and you pay for the weekend, you go out there to Cookeville and you work out with him and his team for 3 days in a row. It's really cool because it's with all those athletes. It's Haley Adams, it's his team that wins the games every year, and you just train with him for 3 days. You do stuff like at his house, like at his barn. You go to like his dad's lake and do swim workouts. And on day 3, they do this every single time. On day 3, they start the day with
Breakfast.
a cereal bar. They get a table, and there's Cinnamon Toast Crunch, it's Raisin Bran, and they have all these different cereal. It's like an 8-year-old kid's dream. It's this long line of cereal, and you have cereal, you just hang around. They do a Bible study. If you want to participate, you can. If not, but why are the fittest athletes in the world inviting you to come train with them and fill you with sugar? It's not so you can go home, think that's the thing, and then they quit doing that so they can beat you. That's not the thing. It's because you're about to train for like 6 hours. You're gonna do GHD sit-ups, you're gonna do handstand walks, you're gonna do squat snatches at maximal weights. And if you walk in on like a Slim Jim, you're screwed. You can't keep up. T-shirt, write it down, Dave. Write it down. So that's the deal with cereal. It depends. Clay, am I allowed to have cereal? I'm a big fan of Raisin Bran. Can I have it? Depends.
If I take Dave at 7:30, can I eat Raisin Bran after I coach in the morning and it takes 7:30?
Depends. Because here's the deal. What if Will Salmon takes 6:30 class. What if Will says, from now on, I understand, I really do want to push this. So I need to increase my carbs. I train at 6:30. I'm gonna start doing cereal before, so I have more fuel in the tank, because I'm gonna stay after class a couple days a week and hit an additional conditioning piece. Like DJ stays after class all the time, does like 500 calories on the Concept 2 bike. So I need enough energy in the system. Can I start doing cereal? I have the conversation with Will. Yeah, we can try, but we would only say yes because we're increasing carbs. That's the operating principle. But I don't know if the answer is actually going to be yes, because ... Depends. Maybe his stomach can't do any of that crap. Maybe it makes him crap. Maybe it doesn't work for him at all. But I know this is our operating principle, so if it's not cereal, maybe it is something else. But the deal with breakfast is, anybody know the saying, breakfast is the most important. Yeah, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, end quote, hyphen.
General Mills.
She's not far off. Dr. Harvey Kellogg. Breakfast is not the most important meal of the day. You've been bamboozled, Mike.
A really complex marketing scheme.
It's a wonderful marketing scheme. Breakfast is not the most important meal of the day. Breakfast, actually, you might not need it at all. Yeah, could ruffle some feathers real fast with that one. You might not need it all, depends on your goals. If you want to lose weight, you better decrease your calories. Like, yeah, but I always do Doze Bros with my girlfriend at lunch, and it's always so good. And for dinner, we go to my parents' house, and so like I have to keep doing those things. Fine, it's part of your lifestyle factors. I get ... Those are your lifestyle factors. But your number one operating principle is to decrease your calories. So if you're gonna do a big lunch every day and you're gonna do a big dinner every day, that's fine, you can keep doing that. Maybe we don't do breakfast anymore. That's fine. But if your goals are to qualify for quarterfinals when the Open gets here and you're skipping breakfast every single day, you could do it, just be aware. You could do it, but you might die. So understand that breakfast is to break your fast. So don't worry about the commercials with the sunshine and the bananas and the strawberries on top of the cereal and the coffee.
Hey, don't talk about coffee.
Hey, we're not getting ready to coffee. No, we're not getting ready to coffee. I'm just talking to them. So the meal that you break, your fast, could happen at 2 p.m. That's not the social norm. People wouldn't call that breakfast. Like, no, you skip breakfast, you're just doing lunch. Screw what people tell you what you're doing. Like, how many calories are you getting in? Protein, carbs, fats, these are the things that matter. But I just understand that if you ask someone, whether it's your friends or your coaches, if you ask someone, am I allowed to do gluten? Can I do beef jerky? It depends. We start with your first principle, and then we play. Then we decide, can you do this? Can you not do this? Does this work for your lifestyle? Does it not? Does your job allow this? Does it not allow this? Do you like to go have drinks with your friends on Friday nights? If so, that's fine, but maybe we can need to tweak some. All of that matters. Don't get bamboozled. Don't get lied to because you heard, yeah, but breakfast is Here's the deal. Breakfast could, David, what was your breakfast 2 days ago?
Chicken and vegetables, chicken parm.
He's upstairs. I come here at 8:45 a.m. I go upstairs. It's everything he just said. That's probably the last thing on people's minds before 9 a.m., before noon. It's because it's not the social norm. That's it. You're gonna feel like and if this is you, you're gonna feel like a robot the very first time you try this. And if you take one thing away from today, it's not, you need to start doing like burrito bowls for breakfast. That's actually not what I'm saying. But understand that like you don't need dessert for breakfast. The only people that should consider that are athletes about to go train in the morning. Outside of that, you don't need that. It would be okay to either push it off, not have breakfast at all, or make your breakfast something different. But there is a medium. I'm not saying you're an athlete eating cereal and French toast, or you're someone losing weight and you're gonna skip breakfast. There is a medium. What if you're gonna eat breakfast? You're like, Clay, I'm not giving up a meal, but I just need to change my food, I guess. What are some foods there?
Cashews, yogurt, granola,
Bananas.
fruit.
Eggs was a good one. That's gonna be one that most people enjoy. Not everyone. Fruit, avocado.
Eggs, avocado, toast.
Oh, isn't that the one?
Yeah, just have with some hot sauce.
Well,
Salsa in scrambled eggs.
I feel like with the last conversation where people are throwing things out, there's so many different routes we could go, but I want to start, I'll stay here with you guys as long as you want, but I'm about to start wrapping this up and bringing it full circle. Can you think of something maybe in the back of your head, whether it's for you or someone that often asks you for advice, like, I don't really know what the answer would be. What if this? Am I allowed to do that? Make it as personal as you want, like to you and your life and your lifestyle factors, because I feel like we've covered like the dome. I feel like we've covered the large scheme of things. A question that you think could set you up for success. Don't worry about the group anymore. Unless you have a friend or a family member that often asks you a question. Something that would be personalized. And these are the benefits of being here today opposed to just the people watching right now. Yeah, Dustin.
What if you want to lose fat and stay the same weight?
Oh, awesome question. So he's saying, what if you are at a good working weight right now? You don't feel like you have a weight vest on when you do gymnastics. Like you feel pretty good on burpees, right? Burpees always feel like burpees, but you feel pretty good when you're doing gymnastics. You don't feel sluggish, but I would like to stay here with this weight, but at a lower body fat percentage. I would like to lose some weight. Your number one operating principle becomes to decrease calories because we're looking to lose weight. So we got to decrease calories while being able to maintain the amount of muscle I currently have, if not gain. So this is not your operating principle. It's worth keeping in the back of your head. This is not your operating principle. Dustin, your operating principle then becomes, how many calories am I burning? And if you guys do a Garmin, if you do an Apple Watch, if you do a Whoop, if you do a Fitbit, all those are pretty accurate. None of those are the best, none of those are terrible. All those are pretty accurate. If you want to get a good idea of how many calories are you burning throughout the day, all those are pretty fine. It doesn't have to be a math equation. But like I told you earlier, it's the law of conservation of energy, or the law of thermodynamics. It is a math equation, but it doesn't have to be. Just understand, if you eat like X for 7 days, and then you get back on the scale, and you have a positive or negative change, you now have data. So what you need to do is consume less calories, but of the calories you are consuming, make sure you're getting this number in. Probably similar to Joe, I would say about 1.0 is where I would put you there. That's finding out what this number is for you, how much you currently weigh without the fat, multiplying that number by 1.0, it's the same number, and grams of protein throughout the day. Yeah, awesome question though. Anything else that's personalized for you? Joe?
So like gaining muscle, would that be, do you need to eat more calories to like a surplus or?
So in regards to gaining muscle, do I need more? Anybody know how many calories are in a single gram of protein? Yeah, 4. There are 4 calories per gram of fat. Protein. Anybody know how many calories per gram of carbohydrates? Yeah. Okay, I said the wrong word a second ago, but how many calories per gram of fat? No, 9. More than double. Score! It's 9. So protein is not super dense calorically. That's why people that are eating lean meats and they're doing low processed foods, they have very little carbohydrate content, are really playing around with, it doesn't really matter what my fat content is because I'm keeping my calories low elsewhere. This is the keto diet. It's very low carbs, next to none, letting your body thrive off of ketosis as you eat your protein, and it's AMRAP, avocados, cashews, almond milk, etc. So it's not necessarily that you have to bump up your calories, it's that you would have to bump up your protein. There are 4 calories per gram of protein. So if you had, very easy math, if you did 150 grams of protein per day, 150 times 4, 600, is 600 calories a day just on protein. It's not a huge number. USDA for the longest time was like 2,000 is good for everyone. But government entities, I wouldn't take their, not nutritionally. We're not going to talk anything outside of nutrition, but I would not take their nutrition advice. I'll talk politics if you want to talk politics. Does that answer your question though? Yeah, so we do got to get calories in. I mean, that's the only way you're going to build. But it's got to be, A, sustainable for you, and maybe you don't want to do 8 to 10 chicken breasts. So I think a protein supplement is going to be 25 grams of protein per scoop. Depends on where you are with, if you're an athlete, where you are in season, is what we call it. Or if you are just new to this and you're trying to play around, there are loading phases. See how you do with supplementing half of your protein as a non-whole food source, because it's really freaking hard to eat 300 grams, but it's not really hard to drink 300 grams of protein. Do a shake every couple hours and you're there in no time. Oh. Any other questions? DJ.
So if you wanted to gain muscle and increase athletic performance,
Yeah.
like that's all going up. So how would you keep from like having too much access? What would be like a good balance?
So DJ is saying let's gain muscle, let's increase athletic performance, but let's not like over tip the scale. So your 2 operating principles are both arrow ups, which for most people, like if you're someone that's trying to lose weight, or you're someone that's like trying to get off some medication your doctor put you on, the restrictions become a thing. Like, I need to do less. I need to have less of those. So like, it's like less cookies, and it's like less snacks after 7 p.m. But if you're here, it sounds like, oh, that's the dream. You gotta eat more, sounds hard for you. How hard is it to eat more?
So hard.
Super hard.
It's really freaking hard. And so none of this is about what's easy and what's hard. If you're wanting to gain muscle, you gotta try really hard to get in more protein. Like really hard. Like you're at the house and you're low on your number, like, I'm gonna go make another steak. I would never complain about that. But I gotta go have more chicken that's pre-cooked. I gotta have another shake. That sounds like, okay, not that big of a deal, but just like people are like, oh, I gotta say no again. My grandma made pumpkin cookies and I gotta say no again. Like, it's the same idea. It's really hard for them. So it's going to be really hard. None of this will be simple. You don't want it to be. If it's simple, it's not gonna change you up here. And you better be obsessed with growth if you're gonna train here. For sure. If you're gonna do workouts like this, you better be obsessed with getting better and enhancing your life. But it's gonna be really freaking hard, but you're gonna have to up your protein, you're gonna have to up your carbs. And then how do I make sure that I don't like tip over though? Too much protein, especially too much carbs. Like what if remember, it is a science problem. Go hard in your workouts. You fill up your gas tank, go drive your car. Yeah, use it. Take a road trip. Fill up the tank, drive to the beach and come back. This is why so many people find themselves in these positions and they're nowhere near these positions right now. I want to get here, but I'm not there. They fill up the gas tank. We're past the letter F on the fuel tank. And they drive the length of the driveway. What really breaks my heart is when I see CrossFitters do it. Like, okay, I'm ready for class. They show up, don't listen to their coach, don't scale appropriately, doing this. And guess who's not driving the car while they're doing this? You scale your workouts appropriately, especially if your goals are the freaking sweat track. I want you to come in here and lose your mind. I want sweat falling off your nose. You ever seen Will Sammons do burpees? Yeah. Because he goes hard. He drives the car across the ocean. Will drives to Germany, okay? So he has to fuel that back up. Do you have a question? You're just stretching.
No,
question?
I have a comment.
Okay.
Would it be, this is a great class. Okay, 2 thumbs up. Wouldn't it be beneficial to maybe throw in the quality of food that you're eating if both your arrows are going up? Because the quality of food that you're eating is, if you're choosing some broccoli over some gummy bears, that you're not having this thing over your head, well, I'm eating so much, it could actually put me at a disservice because you're eating foods that are lower on carbohydrates. We're also giving you the energy to perform better.
Awesome statement. This is, and she's right. So we do eat real food, not too much, mostly plants. It's 3 sentences. I stole it from one of my favorite books I've ever read. CrossFit's prescription is eat meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar. Hey, those things are the exact same thing. What she just said is the exact same thing. If what is in the tank when you are putting gas in the car is not processed foods, you're doing pretty good. But if you're trying to increase your athletic performance, you're gonna wanna have enough gas in the tank to keep going, especially if you're staying after class and you're hitting a really large conditioning piece. You need the energy. Glucose equals sugar equals energy. You need the energy to make the car go. Dina's also correct. You can do really, really well on Brussels sprouts and carrots. You can do really well there. It just depends on how far are you driving the car. That determines how much fuel you need for the car. So, yeah, good statement, good question, good follow-up. It totally depends. And that's why nutrition sucks. Because you see what he's doing, you see what she's doing, and you need to ask your coach, what should I be doing? And this is what I like, this is what I don't like. I have a gluten intolerance. My skin's itchy if I have too many blueberries. That's not me, but I mean, this happens to people. You need to know. You need to know what works for you, you need to know what doesn't work for you. Any closing questions, any last questions?
So what about, so gaining muscle? Do you want to do heavier weight?
Joe, I'm about to get you jacked, dude.
He's really committed.
So do you want to do heavier weight? And
So we're talking about the workout side now, no longer the food side. Joe's question is, hey, I'm trying to build muscle.
do you want to do like medium heavy weight, kind of more reps, or?
You need to find in training what we call threshold training. So think about, I'm gonna go back to a car. I'm not even a car guy, but I'm gonna go back to a car. Think about redlining on your car. Think about like 8,000 RPMs. Think about redlining. If you stay at a red line on your car, it's not gonna be so good for your car in the long run if you stay there. So you need to back it off some. Training is the same thing. Find that red line, come back just a hair. So in regards to weightlifting, whether it's a heavy day, whether it's a heavy set of 5, or whether it is a heavier load with fast pace, you need to find what's your red line. And if it's a heavy day, it's what's the most amount of weight you can lift before your technique deviates just a little bit. That's where your training happens. That's where the sweet spot is when you train. How fast can I go? How heavy can I lift? And it's okay to make an error or two, but I cannot be making tons of errors. That's your threshold. And that's where you need to train when you're weightlifting. Go heavy. Don't allow yourself to get injured though. You need to go heavy, you need to go fast. Don't let yourself get injured. So and your coaches will do this for you. That's why the number one question, remember, principles. You come up to me during bathroom of water. Hey, Danielle, I'm scared. She'll do this to me all the time. Hey, I'm scared. What do I need to do? Depends. What track are you following? I ask you that first. You tell me your principle. You just tell me one of those 3 words. I'm a compete athlete. Cool. You're doing jumping bar muscle ups, not chest to bar. I need to know your principle first. So Joe comes up to me and says, hey, what do I need to do? Bathroom and water, what do I need to do for my workout? Depends. What track are you following? Training athlete. I'm just trying to build muscle, just trying to get jacked. Okay, cool. Let's keep it heavy. Let's do like Diane, 21-15-9, deadlifts at 225, 155. Let's keep it heavy. Let's go 225 today, Joe. Instead of 21-15-9, how about we do 12-9-6? So I'm gonna give you the heavy loading. I'm gonna bring down your repetitions a little bit, but I want you to lift heavy. You're not gonna get strong if you don't lift heavy stuff. Please make sure you understand that. You will not get strong if you don't lift heavy stuff. That's why we lift heavy here. So understand that it depends. That's why it sounds so awesome when you read an Instagram caption, like, oh, that's all I gotta do? When you watch a protein supplement do an ad on YouTube, like, that's buy one, get one? Sign me up.
Or when Matt Fraser said he ate Snickers after every competition.
Yeah, oh my gosh, dude. If you guys don't know, Matt Fraser won CrossFit Games 5 years in a row, got on the Joe Rogan podcast, and was like, Snickers was about to sponsor me. Cereal, Coca-Cola.
His idea was putting sugar into his body and right after a workout.
I'm pretty sure
His number one goal.
after that.
Oh, for sure, they skyrocketed. His number one goal is to have a better performance than the world.
Everyone.
So he's gonna get in nearly, this is a bit of a misnomer, but nearly more carbs than the world. But because he's gonna burn more than the world. But then you see that and you're like, oh, I'm gonna do it too. Also understand, hey, you're not wrong, you don't suck, I won't vilify you. If you ever walk into the gym and you're about to hit your class and you're like throwing away a wrapper of processed foods, but you as a peer and a friend and a CV family member, you don't judge that person either, because keep in mind, you don't know what their goals are. You don't know what they've eaten throughout the rest of the day. Maybe someone walks in, this is something the coaches and I have discussed before. Maybe someone walks in, their number one goal is to lose weight. Low calories. So they skip breakfast. They came to lunch, this is not lunch, this is the gym. They went to lunch, they were in the break room of their business. They went into the break room and they had a little pack of single serve thing of almonds, and they had an orange. That was it. Because their number one goal is to lose calories. Holy smokes, we're on almost no calories. But also like, hey, I like the gym too. Like I wanna go hard, I wanna PR, I wanna make gains. So on their way to the gym, they stop at Get and Go and they buy 2 Reese's Fast Break candy bars. Now, it's not ideal there's next to no, almost none. There's next to no nutrients there, so it's not an awesome idea. But right now, their calorie number is really freaking low. They're gonna come to my 5:30 p.m. class. It's 5:10 p.m. They've had nothing for breakfast, a few almonds, they had an orange. They come into the gym, they have 2 orange Fast Break Reese's. They're eating them. Remember, you don't know their story. Us as coaches maybe don't know that day's story. So a conversation is always okay to have with that person or to have with yourself, like, is this sustainable for me? Could I keep doing this? Am I gonna do a burpee and burp peanut butter and that's gonna make me wanna cry? Yeah, it's not a good feeling. I can't do it. It's not fun. It's not fun. But the person I just named, I'm gonna guess like 27-ish grams of sugar per candy bar. So 54 grams in total. But their total caloric number, especially if they're gonna go home and do a chicken breast and a few pieces of grilled asparagus, it's not a terrible day for them. Just depends on what their goals are. I'm gonna hang around for a while, so if you guys wanna ask more stuff, please do it. But especially for everybody that's watching on their computers or on their phones, we'll wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for being inquisitive, asking questions. Keep asking them. It's the only way you're gonna know. Your coaches are knowledgeable, they know their stuff, but if they don't know a question, if I don't know a question, we are never scared to tell you, I don't know. I'll find out and I'll come back to you. That way we are never just like, I don't know, tell them something. We are so invested in getting you guys gains. We are so invested in getting you guys to what you want to get out of this whole program. Whether it's just fun, these are some of your best friends, you love to come work out. You're trying to qualify for quarterfinals next year. You're trying to break some necks on the beach because Dustin's got those traps now. Yeah. DJ's triceps, come on now, let's hear it for DJ's triceps. Yeah. Or you just want to lose 20 pounds because when you show up to your high school reunion, they're gonna be like, damn. Just know, it depends, and your coaches are gonna help you. Guys, let's break it down on 3, big claps on 3. 1, 2, 3.